Kids in the Bible. The colorful coat and the jealous brothers. Remember what God promised Abraham? He said, I'm going to give you a big family, and I will bless the whole world through this family. That promise didn't make sense until Isaac was born. And then it made more sense when Isaac grew up to have twins, Jacob and Esau. When Jacob grew up, he had 13 kids, 12 sons and 1 daughter. Whoa, that's a lot of children. God's seemingly impossible promise of a family was slowly coming true. But what about the other part of the promise? How would this family be a blessing? After all, like every family, Jacob's family had troubles. Families are supposed to love one another, but most of Jacob's sons hated one of the youngest brothers, Joseph. Joseph was their dad's favorite. Jacob even made Joseph a special colorful robe, but none of the other brothers got one. It wasn't fair. Standing in their boring brown robes next to crayon-colored Joseph, the brothers couldn't forget their dad was a favorite picker. To make things worse, Joseph dreamt about his brothers bowing down to him, and he blabbed those dreams to his brothers as they worked together as shepherds. Envy began to grow in the brothers' hearts. That mean feeling that says, I want to take what you have. This sin grew and grew, like it wanted to gobble the brothers up. When Joseph was 17 years old, his jealous brothers had an idea. One that seemed good to them, but was actually poisonous. They thought, let's kill him. To them, Joseph was just a thing that kept their father from loving them more. One brother, Reuben, stood up for Joseph and said, don't kill him. Let's just throw him into this pit. Reuben was secretly planning to rescue Joseph later. But when Reuben returned, he learned his brothers had sold Joseph to some passing travelers for 20 pieces of silver. Because of these mean brothers, Joseph would soon become a slave in Egypt. The rest of the brothers weren't sorry, but Reuben was devastated. What would their father say? To keep from telling their father the evil truth, the brothers crafted a lie. They took Joseph's special coat, the one their father had given him, and covered it in goat's blood. They took it to their father, making him believe that a wild animal had devoured Joseph. It never occurred to Jacob that sin had devoured his other sons, or that Joseph, at just 17 years old, would soon be a slave in Egypt. Things weren't easy for Joseph in Egypt, but God was with him. Joseph was just a kid, but he and his brothers, as hateful as they were part of God's special plan to bless the whole world. Joseph spent time enslaved and in jail, but no matter where he was, people trusted him. They knew he was special. It wasn't a coat that made Joseph special. It was the way God the Father covered him with wisdom. As Joseph trusted God more, he became wiser. Eventually, Joseph helped the ruler of Egypt, Pharaoh, see that the land would soon face a terrible famine. That's a time when there isn't enough food to feed people. Joseph had a wise plan to protect people, so Pharaoh put him in charge of everything. When the famine spread all the way back to Jacob's home, Joseph's brother heard about a wise man with food in Egypt. They packed up and headed that way. When they arrived, Joseph was startled to see his brothers bowing down to him and asking for help. Of course, the brothers didn't recognize him. How could they have ever imagined this powerful man was the kid brother they had betrayed? Not only had Joseph grown on the outside, but he'd grown on the inside too. When he revealed himself to his brothers, they were terrified. He would kill them. But Joseph said, "Your plan was evil, but God used it for good." Joseph trusted God, and like God, he offered kindness to his brothers. He invited them and their father to come live in Egypt, where Joseph could take care of them. Dear God, I know that I will grow on the inside as I learn to trust you like Joseph will. Joseph, will you help me? Amen.